When you hold the magic sword, what do you say?
By the power of Grayskull.
Go on.
I have
Now you're ready.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and time for another episode of Luke's Reviews. On today's video, get those abs crunching and pop on your best loincloth. No, it's not anything to do with Pride Month. It is a reboot of a classic 80s animation based on a very, very iconic toy line. So let's get matey. This is my review of Masters of the Universe. After the kingdom of Eternos is ravaged and overtaken by the villainous Skeletor, young Prince Adam is forced to flee to planet Earth, taking the Sword of Power with him. But along the journey, Adam loses the sword and has spent years ever since trying to track it down. Now a young man, Adam is a bit of a social outcast, still wishing to find his sword and return to Eternia. Eventually, once locating the sword, Adam reunites with Teela, Man-at-Arms, and the rest of Eternia's warriors to take back the kingdom from Skeletor and fulfill his destiny. I'm somewhat surprised that it has taken Hollywood this long to do a reboot of Masters of the Universe. We've had a couple of animated spin-offs. I think one of them was helmed by Kevin Smith over on Netflix. And yeah, I know. The 80s movie, was it the 80s? Yeah, 87, I think, with Dolph Lundgren is trash. It is a car crash of a movie. I get why you might want to look at this franchise and think that needs to stay on ice for a number of years. But silly sci-fi fantasy, it's come a long way since then. And luckily, in the hands of a very skilled filmmaker, Travis Knight, who has also brought to life the classic 80s property and given it the blockbuster level treatment with Bumblebee, he has done the same here. I am very pleased to be able to sit here and tell you that Masters of the Universe is dumb, it's silly, but it is a really, really fun time at the movies. It is utterly ridiculous, but what I really like that Knight has done is that he has given it the spectacle that it deserves. And I think for diehard fans of this franchise, you are going to be very, very pleased because, yeah, we all know it's pretty ridiculous at points, but to see Hollywood and to see a filmmaker treat it with a certain level of respect, a level of regard, to give it this high stakes fantasy, big budget blockbuster action bonanza, yeah, you're going to be very, very chuffed. As Adam is a relative newcomer, Nicholas Galitzine, Galitzine, I apologize if I'm pronouncing that terribly, I probably am. Now, the dual role of Adam and He-Man can be a bit of a tricky tightrope, because on one hand, you have Adam, Prince Adam, who is typically quite weak, uncoordinated, has a heart of gold, and is brave inside, but when it comes to an actual physical confrontation, he's useless and often trips over his own feet. And then, by raising the sword of power and saying the immortal words of my
Our Grayskull, I have the power.
That's my best attempt at it, I'm sorry. Only by doing that does he transform into the Adonis-like demigod, He-Man, the master of combat and supreme strength. Galitzine is very good here. As Adam, he's charming and gets across his complete hopelessness very well. And when transformed to become He-Man, he looks the part and plays the part too. He is totally unafraid to lean into the camp, but luckily the screenplay is aware of this and everyone is along for the joke. All I would say is that Galitzine bulked up for this role. He got jacked, and fair play. You have to be if you're playing He-Man. The issue is that it's still two roles. You still have Adam and you still have Adam as He-Man. Now, instead of doing what I would have personally done and used some CGI trickery to mask Galitzine's physique, do something like they did for Steve Rogers, where before he'd taken the super soldier serum, they had made him look smaller and masked his face perhaps onto a different person's body. But instead, you have Galitzine still looking like a tank, but just clothed. And yet we're still meant to believe that he is a dweeb, a weakling, physically insignificant. The dude is still jacked. He's huge. Standing across the battlefield from He-Man is the iconic and dastardly villain, Skeletor. Now, again, like Adam and He-Man, Skeletor is a tricky nut to crack because, on one hand, Skeletor has to be a legitimate villain. He has to be menacing. He has to be ruthless. But he has to be quite goofy. He is over the top. He is very, very cartoonish and hammy. Travis Knight and his team, like they did with He-Man and Adam, found the sweet spot. And they found it with Jared Leto, who, I will be honest, I had absolutely zero faith of playing Skeletor. It seemed like a miscast. It never seemed like it was going to work. And I have to eat humble pie because he crushed this. He was exactly what Skeletor should be. Firstly, the physique and the look is spot on. They've taken the design from the animation, and it looks fantastic. He looks like Skeletor should, unlike Frank Langella did.
I'll be back.
Also, he's massively roided up. Just putting it out there. Test Skeletor's pee. That's such a weird thing to say. But in amongst the nefarious cackling and the evil doings, there is still an inner diva of Skeletor that, in Leto's performance and the script, that diva does come out, and that was really fun to see. Filling up the rest of the supporting cast, you have Camila Mendes as Teela, who gets a good showing and shares great chemistry with Galitzine. Idris Elba as Man-at-Arms is having a blast. He is basically just playing a less bitter Bloodsport from Suicide Squad, but Elba makes it work. And Alison Brie plays Evil Lynn. Now, she is hamming it up to the nth degree, and maybe for any other actress, it wouldn't have worked. But Brie is so game to just go for broke, to be silly, to be so unbelievably camp, that for the role of Evelyn, it pays off. But Brie makes the pantomime levels of her boo hiss performance very effective. The action is loads of fun. It's mostly comprised of what I would imagine would happen if you took your Masters of the Universe action figures and just smashed them together. The visual effects is solid, and the score and soundtrack is excellent. Brian May, whoever decided this, Brian May shredding guitar on the score for this film is metal as hell, and it worked again for the tone that this film was striking. There are also a couple of epic needle drops, including one song that I just thought, if they played this, it's an automatic win. I don't think they will, but if they did, it would be a win. And they played it. But, and it saddens me to say that there is a but Masters of the Universe is too silly for its own good far too often. Most of the time, Knight finds the right tone with a very self-deprecating screenplay that never takes itself seriously for a single moment. However, those jokes come at you thick and fast, and at a point I was wishing that it would stop swinging. At times, given the epic scale that this film is operating on, I wish that they would have held back. A joke isn't needed in every single moment, and I think in a couple of really emotional moments, a joke comes in and undercuts a lot of the emotion at play. I've seen lots of comparisons to this film as trying to be a Thor Ragnarok, and I don't disagree with that at all, and I think it does, for the most part, a good job at that. But it's the constant joking and the never knowing quite when to take a step back that also made me draw comparisons to Thor, Love and Thunder. I'm sure you've often heard myself or other critics say that a film reminded them of a Saturday morning cartoon. Well, Masters of the Universe is a Saturday morning cartoon. It delivers what fans of the franchise should hope for. A totally balmy, colourful, and energetic fantasy romp that knows how ludicrous much of this all is, and never ceases to poke fun at itself, also giving the franchise the blockbuster spectacle it deserves. Knight was a great pick for director, and he's assembled a very talented ensemble to bring it to life. Sure, it struggles to know when to let up on the humour, but when all is said and done, it's a ridiculously entertaining time at the movies. So I'm going to give Masters of the Universe a 7 out of 10. Anyway, guys, those were my thoughts on Masters of the Universe. Let me know, have you had a chance to see the film yet? What did you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And my question to you, I would like to know, what is a toy line that you would like to see a movie of? And let's keep it PG. Like, not those toys. But this is all the time we have for today. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Hello, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to click that like button. And if you aren't already, click that subscribe button too.